Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to TLP Live, guys. You are watching the Liberian Perspective. That's right. That's TLP Sports Club. All right. This show is called TLP Live. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and get in the club. Okay. But welcome to TLP Live. I am your host, Harry Billion. That is right. Today's show is about the hoes that are still at Colorado. If we're going to make a push deep into the postseason, we want to see what hoes are remaining. We have a good, if you've been watching the well-off videos or any of the videos out of Deion Sanders' club, whether it is Neely or Uncle Neely, or Reach the People Media with Darius Sanders. He's not his son, but his name is Sanders. The CU Buffs channel, if you've been watching them or the well-off videos, you've seen how the O-line is stacking up. You've seen some drills. You've seen some drills on the D-line. They've done the tug of war. You've seen how tough guys are looking. You've seen them run some routes. But there are still, I believe that there are still some pockets, little pockets here and there, to make a push into that playoff. So we're going to talk about that in this show. But welcome to the show today. It is Friday, guys, March the 1st. So happy March for a lot of people. You made it into March. Black History Month is over. All right. You only get 29 days or 28 days, depending on leap years. And I don't know how that works. But anyways, so welcome to the show. Basically, my chair's a little lower. So let me put my chair up a little bit. I think that's a little better. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. But today I want to open up the show with this. The last video that I posted was being black while attending Colorado in the Coach Prime era. I want to open up the show with that. I want to give it a little twist, though. Just a tiny little twist. I want to focus on minorities. And I will start off like this. If you are in the chat or if you are watching post live, if you are watching it after we've done the show live and having our little chats and having, I don't know if people want to come on today on the panel, but we'll deal with that in a second. But after the panel have had their say and given us the different things, in the comments, I want you to put in there your experience as a minority at a university or as a minority at work or in a group. How did you feel as the minority in that space that you are in, whether it's at work or at school? Because I don't want to leave people out who didn't go to college. I don't want to make it only about college. What are your feelings, or how do you feel being a minority in the space that you spend the most time? All right. Were you an Asian, Hispanic, or white going to an HBCU? If you are here, you're watching the show, and you are a Hispanic, or you are white, or Asian, or other, because we usually forget a lot of other, I guess, races. But if you're one of those, if you fall in one of those groups, and you're going to a predominantly black university, college, what are your feelings? How do you feel? Were you able to find your community? So let me I guess step back just a little bit and set this up a little better, so that way you'll understand. The video that I posted on the channel was from a young lady called Kennedy Pickering. And I said salute to her and her family. I think auntie, mom, and dad, they all found the video and they responded. There were a few testy comments. We dealt with those. But yeah, so the idea was what happened was she's I don't know if she's a journalist or writer, but she's I think it's KNGU. Oh man, I'm gonna botch this and I'm so sorry. Let me make sure that I get this right because it's important. if we're going to talk about it. All right, KGNU. All right, KGNU.org. She's interning there, according to her father. She's an intern at KGNU. She's a senior, I believe, according to the article. She's a senior, and she's interning at KGNU. And Dad, if you're watching, or if you're watching and you're part of the chat today, let me know in the comments if if she's a journalist, if she's going into media. I don't know her major. I don't know what she wants to do for a living. But anyways, while she's interning there, she's trying to be a writer. But yeah, so her article at kgnu.org dealt with being black at Colorado. I'm just paraphrasing, just being black at Colorado in the Deion Sanders era. And she sat down with her roommate. It was a one-on-one interview. I guess it was kind of like a reflective interview, pre and post Coach Prime. Like, what are some of the feelings that you were getting? And she articulated. Both of them were kind of having a conversation and just, you know what I'm saying, just kind of reflecting on some of the things some of the experiences that they've had at CU. And the education at CU, I'm sure, is wonderful. I'm sure they're learning a lot, because the thing about that is, it's not just a racial thing, because I think at the sound of it, it's just for your American ears, for your inundated, politically charged, negative ear, you will not listen to that with virgin ears. It's hard for you to do, because you're so inundated and so politically charged in America that when you hear something like that, you dismiss it immediately. Some do, and then you just go straight to your political line, and you're thinking, "Oh, here we go." Some may think, "Oh my gosh, here we go again. It's that talk again." But when you're at work, when you're somewhere where you are the minority, right? That's why I want to take this angle and see if maybe you can look at it differently. Maybe you can feel different about it. When you're at work and you're feeling away, whether it's at work, at church, because I think we're going to a PWI, predominantly white institution. We're at a predominantly white church right now, so it's a PWC, predominantly white church. So we are a small minority there, and so the feeling initially you'll start feeling a certain way. A church, we're trying to worship God. It's about God. It's not necessarily about us, but it's hard for you to forget that you are black, or for the non-blacks to forget that you are black. You know what I'm saying? So it's something you have to deal with. Eventually, you start getting involved with the different groups. People start to get to know you and stuff like that. And then, you start living life the way you're supposed to live it, or the way you want to live it. And eventually people will stop, thinking about color, and they'll start trying to get to know you, whether you're an angry person, whether you're a happy person, what do you like, and your likes, and all of those things. So that's what I want to talk about in the beginning of the show. And then we'll start talking about the different areas where Coach Prime and his team needs to bolster to go deeper into the playoff if they get there. So what are your thoughts right now? If you are white, I want to hear from what I would like. I don't mind inviting my regular guests on the show, my regular panel. And I'm always grateful that anybody wants to call into the show. So I don't mind. I'm waiting for anybody to come in, but I want to get one person that is not a regular, at least one person, maybe a white person, maybe a Chinese or Asian, somebody Asian, can call in and maybe give me a story about how you felt when you were the minority. Because as I would say, I think, I don't know the real numbers, but I think white people are the minority, or the majority race, I think, in America or in the world. And it's mostly because of economics. So I would say that I don't know the real numbers, and I'm sure the Dr. Umars and the other people who do deal with those type of topics and stuff like that, who are the experts. I'm not an expert on this, but the people that know those numbers would say either the Hispanics or some other groups are kind of like approaching to be the majority race, or the dominating race, or whatever, how you want to term it. But I think they are. So when it comes down to how we approach things, we're always looking at white people as the dominating race. Those are the guys that kind of, when you go to a job, whether is work or is anything economical, like you will see more white people in leadership. But have you ever found yourself as a white person, as a dominant race, have you found yourself to be a minority? And how did you feel? What were your feelings? How did you eventually find your voice? Because that's important. You don't want to be at a place where you're going to spend most of your time and you're just kind of existing. You're just kind of a number, and you're not. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for you to kind of just be there. All right. So I want to know. I want to know how you felt, and what are some of the things that you went through. So we're gonna get that started. I want you to email me, jointlplive@gmail.com, if you want to come on here and articulate how you felt, or as a minority, if you were a minority in a group being the dominant race, please come on here. And if you can, and the way that it works is you email me, I send you a link, you click on the link, and then we have that conversation. All right. So that's how it works. So I'll be waiting for y'all to hit me up, and as I continue to talk. So let's see here. Please articulate how, if you can, because I feel like, you know, there's the other side, there's another whole other life apart from sports, or um that is different from football, that is happening at Colorado. And the fact that Coach Prom is there, it's it gives you a sense of, okay, so is that a whole nother world that's going on at Colorado, where you have celebrities in the football team, but then you have students, and according to the research that Kennedy and her team at KNGU, I'm gonna keep botching it, right? According to the research, right, that yeah, KGNU did, uh Colorado has 31,000 students, 31,000, around the number of 31,000, and the black minority is 2.7%. So that's roughly about 800 plus students at out of 31,000. And I'm not sure, it's not all white, but obviously, that's just the small percentage that is black. So they're trying to find out who they are at CU. When you first get to a school, when you're attending a school, I'll say this: when you are attending a school like a PWI or predominantly white institution, when you get there's a couple of dynamics. You're either going to be taking classes, you're either an adult who works and take classes, so you're not going to experience the same thing that the student that goes from high school goes and enroll and then lives in the dorm on campus. So that's their life is going to be consumed with on-campus life. So that's a difference. And then there's also another difference where there's a lot of different nuances, right? Different scenarios. But so there's also the student who enrolls. They do some on-campus activities, but for the most part, they live off campus. So the activities that they do are not really going to be all campus activities. They don't live on the campus, so they're not experiencing that. They don't have that same experience. So which category what the category that I think that gets affected the most, or that has to deal with that experience, I think is going to be the guys that live on campus. Like your nose are wide open. You're coming from high school. You think you know it all, whether you were very smart or you were just an average student who just happened to get into a school like CU or PWI. You get on campus and you see a sea of white. You're there. And now you're there. What do? You see nobody that looks like you. Nobody that like, if let's just say, for instance, maybe you went to an all-white school. If you were black and you went to an all-white school and you're already used to that, maybe that's nothing for you. For you, it's not anything, because you either already are enrolled at a school where a lot of your friends from your high school went, or you'll find a few of your white friends, but What if you're out of state? What if you're out of the country? What if you come from a different place and now all of a sudden you meet these people and it's a sea of white people and you're like, okay, what do I do? The first day you go to the cafeteria, where do you sit? You see what I'm saying? And they may not have any type of food on that menu that represents anything that you are used to eating. All right. So that could be another thing. But finding your culture, finding your voice. What are the clubs that you join? What are the sororities that you may want to join, or fraternities that you may want to join? What are the experiences that you're having? And it's a little hard because sometimes when you do these type of things, people go straight to race only. It's only race. It's like, oh, forget about how you feel. They always take the opposing. You shouldn't feel that way because if you decided to go there, then that's what you decided to do. It's like, okay, listen. It is what it is. I went there. It's a school that I wanted to go to. They had my major, and I felt like going there was going to give me the best opportunity to come out, learn what I needed to learn, and further whatever I want to do in life. That's just what it is. So take it at that value. And then at the end of the day, we want to say, okay, so now that you're just there, now we leave that alone and say, okay, you're there now. What's important? You want to feel like you belong there. You want to feel like you are a part of that school. You want to rock the black and gold. You want to rep it all like straight up. You know what I'm saying? At UNC Greensboro, my face, if they still have it, I cut my hair bald, and I had somebody draw the logo. It was one of those, events where the school was having, and they had to bring people in to draw and like paint faces and stuff like that. So I cut my hair off, and I had somebody paint the logo, the UNC Greensboro logo, on my head, on my bald head. And then I think in the stadium, it was like homecoming in the stadium. I put my head down and somebody took a photo. And that photo was hanging at UNC Greensboro for a long time. So anybody that came to the school would see my head, my bald head. If you ever seen that at UNC Greensboro and you went there years after I left, after 2001, that's me, okay, at UNC Greensboro. But I'm not sure if it's still there. So you want to become part of that, the fiber of that school. You want to be just like anybody else. I don't care if it's a predominantly black school or a predominantly white school. You want to wear your letters. You want to feel proud to be black and gold, or UNC Greensboro, or whatever it is, a Spartan. You know what I'm saying? You want to be a Spartan. I wanted to be a Spartan all the way through. That's where I'm going to school at. Whether it's a white school or a black school, I didn't care. I'm at school. I'm at UNC Greensboro. I went to college. Praise God. So that experience is important to you. So how you feel, what you eat, the communities that you're a part of, the clubs that you get to join are going to be important to you at the end of the day. So let me bring on somebody who can help me out a little bit. DC Carson, welcome to the show, brother. I appreciate you always calling in. Thank you, man.
What's going on, brother? I won't be on with you long today. I know you got a lot, but I'll stay on as long as I can. But how you feeling, brother? The tooth better?
The tooth is not better yet. I have my appointment in like 2 weeks, so I will be better. I'm heavily medicated.
Oh, I get it. I got
to ease the pain.
Yeah, I got a crown that they like last time I went. It's got to be fixed. All right, I need to have some time before I let y'all get in there and start drilling around in my mouth.
Boy, I'm telling you, those crowns, man. My crown is having his own issues. But yeah, man. So you commented on that video and you said something. I wanted you to if you can like let us know what that feeling was like tell us what you said in your comments, and then you can kind of take it from there. You feel me?
All right. So what she was talking about, like feeling the isolation and it being a while before they got diversity training in there. I think one of the studies. I said, but I don't think y'all have that. We have the context that we see Shadur, we see people at CU stuff, but that to really understand what that area looks like. So I was up there around Colorado, at Fort Collins, looking at Colorado State University because they were looking for diversity in instructors. So I drove around, looked at some houses and stuff like that. And you guys have, and this was in January, negative 20 degrees, that type of stuff. And here I am, born and raised in Alabama. And I grew up in Tuskegee, which is an HBCU town, all black people. I don't really think y'all realize the impact it is to be in that type of environment, and that cold, and that thing where you don't hardly ever see anybody that looks like you. And like, mind you now, I was a pilot. Less than 2% of African Americans are military pilots, and I was almost always the only black dude sitting in the room. The joke used to be I'm the only chocolate chip in the cookie, almost all the time. And so you don't really realize is that day in, day out, especially if you're not an athlete up there or you're not a starting athlete, you're just a person walking around campus that some things you're used to, some places that you can just stop off, like go to an area where your people are, or people that look like you. It's none of that. You can't just go and say, I'm gonna ride past a spot that's got soul food right there on the corner. It's not like that. And that's
Church's Chicken, trying to find a Church's Chicken on campus or
exactly.
off campus.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So what you look at is that after a while, that stuff begins to wear on you, especially when you realize there is an element that may not necessarily don't want you there, but not as welcoming. I'll tell you this: my first year, my first grade year, I remember it because I lived in a place it was right outside of Chicago. My mother was getting her doctorate at Northwestern, and I remember these kids used to tease me and my sister every day and push my face in the snow because we were black. And then there was and so we were there. So anyway, I kind of had that Alabama in me. One day I had my $6 million van lunchbox, which if y'all remember, if you old enough, them boxes were made out of metal. And I popped dude in the head, smacked him in his pants.
Ooh, see his audio went. What? You're back. You're back.
Okay. What I was saying was, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What I was saying was growing up in these areas where it was just all white and, having your face pushed in the snow just because you're black. I don't think people realize what those environments feel like after a while.
That's.
Oh yeah, and I was telling you is that because I had the Alabama in me. Back then, lunch boxes were made out of metal. So dude came up one time and he got the business. He got the business with that lunchbox, which got me in trouble. But my aunt was like, "Hey, they come at you. You got to deal with it." But the thing that's exactly. But and I'm glad to see Coach Prime in them environments. But I don't think people. There was a reason why they weren't able to get people there before.
That's interesting. Do you think, because Colorado, this is not their first black coach, do you think it's an effort by the school to try to lure more black and other to the school by hiring black coaches? Because I think the last 2 or 3 coaches have been black.
Well, absolutely, because one of the things I like one time I was asked, "Hey Carson, how come we don't have more pilots?" I said, "Because you don't talk to more black people." Well, they started talking to more black people, and then Alabama wound up getting one of the first African American female pilots. I think about 5-6 years ago. It's because we started that initiative to talk, and I could see where CU is trying to get that diversity, just like Colorado State was trying to reach out to get people. So it's good that they have Prime. I just think that people not realize that. I used to even hear people that played at Green Bay would talk about, going up there and sometimes feeling in the NFL, playing for Green Bay, but still sometimes feeling like stuff like a barber, all that kind of stuff that you take for granted. It's just not always around the corner.
That's interesting. Let me bring on CU Buff Dynasty. CU Buff Dynasty, you say you were in Durham. Hey man, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
What's up, guy? How you doing today, man? What's up, DC?
What's up, CU Buff?
All is well.
I ain't doing nothing, man. I ain't doing nothing. I didn't catch the front end of the show, so I really don't know what you guys are discussing at the moment. I just caught the tail end.
So right now we're starting the show off with being black or being a minority in a space. It could be at school or at work. And I wanted to take away a little bit away from just being black. And I wanted to give a voice to other people who feel like they're, they're a little bit disenfranchised at a place where they can't find either their voice or they don't have a community where they can see somebody who's like them and feel comfortable being in that space. But right now we're dealing with the school aspect, and DC was just talking about his experience in the as a pilot. But yeah, so but what are your thoughts on that?
I've went to school. Like I said, I'm from Durham, which is a predominantly black town, home of Black Wall Street. So I didn't all the way up I didn't actually go to school with Caucasian people. I don't remember any from middle school, elementary, nor high school. Uh, I don't really have a I don't really have a viewpoint on this topic. I can only
Mm,
imagine that our kids going up to these predominantly white institutions, it has to wear down on them because realistically, I'm pretty much sure that other than the sports that you play, these people really are not, really don't want you, or they don't accept you fully on their campuses.
mm. Well, I mean, I would commend CU for trying their best, because when you have like it's a predominantly white school, like I would say, okay, when did they get to 2.7%? Because you can imagine, even though they had a football team that had blacks on there, like the Eric B. Enemies and back in the day and all that stuff, especially when they won the championship. Like when did they get to 2.7%? Because I'm sure like having a all just straight up a sea of white is a little bit different. And then are they actively trying to bring more blacks in or bring more Hispanics or at least just people of color? Are they trying to bring more people in? And I guess I commend them for that, on a
But
Uh,
you know what,
in a
Harry?
sense.
Harry, the thing is, like, I think we all look on the field and think that in our brain subconsciously thinks that the community
Mm,
looks like on the field. But like, for example, I've been to Utah, where Utah State was in Utah. Trust me when I say you're not going to see a whole lot of people. You might see more there's like Samoans, I like a lot of them are Mormons. You might see people from the Latino community, but you don't
mhm,
necessarily see a lot of us walking around. So it just takes that adjustment. I mean, you got to kind of go in and understand, not to a point where it's like 1940s and you coming into stopping to get a bite to eat in Selma, Alabama. Totally different ball game. It's not that type of vibe. But I do have to absolutely commend CU for really getting in there, because that hire, he wasn't just hiring a person new to coach. You are hiring a person that was new to their culture. I mean, because the other coaches they had in the past are nowhere near the type of stuff that you get with Coach Prime. So that to me says is that, hey, we got to change some things. And I think they did a good job at it.
so let me bring on Tim. Tim, welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me on today, Harry, and to the rest of the panel.
For sure. Your audio's good. You're good, Tim. Oh no, your
Can you
audio's
hear
going
me?
bad. Just a look. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So, could you
Yeah.
address that question that you was the topic that you're discussing at the moment?
You said address it.
Yeah, your
What do you mean?
question
What do you mean address?
to the panel. Or are we just freely talking about uh the percentage of African Americans at CU?
Oh no, right now we're talking about experiences. I wanna have
Hmm.
multiple voices on it. I don't want to make it just being black at
Hmm.
CU. I want to also get the perspective of a white person. I want a white person, Asian, Latino. If they went to an HBCU, like how do they feel? Like what's the experience that they had or are having at an HBCU or a school where they are the minority. And then I want to further the conversation and step into a space that you're at where you
Hmm.
are the minority. And
Hmm.
let's just say you know, if you're a
I see where
man
you're going.
and you're the only man, not black, but you're the only man out of all women workspace. You're a
Hmm.
minority in a space. What are your experiences? How are you feeling? And what are some of the things that you wish would change, especially what Kennedy Pickering and her roommate dealt with? The last question they dealt with is like, what is one thing that you want to see you to implement for future blacks that are coming on this school? So what are some things that you're wishing? You're like, man, I wish we had this, like
Well,
that.
I
That's what we're
could.
talking about right now.
Okay. Well, I could. I can implement a couple of things. Uh, number one, I grew up. I'm a military child. My dad served
Mm,
in the Air Force for 23 years,
okay.
and I traveled the world at a young age. I'm 2 years here. I'm 3 years here. DC Carson can understand where I'm going with it.
Mm,
I'm 2 years here. I'm 3 years there. So on a military installation on post, there's diversity.
mm,
So I inherited that at a young age. I experienced it at a young age. So when I was recruited by LSU to on a track scholarship, it was and LSU has a high population of Caucasians that go to the school, right? When it comes to African American athletes and in at predominantly Caucasian schools, you see them like you just addressed. You see them on TV, but they actually isolated. I don't know how it is right now, but when I was in school back in '98, it's we stayed in a sports complex, so
mm,
we were going to class. We didn't have that luxury of doing a lot of online stuff. Uh, so we was able to interact, but college is what you make of it. You know, you have to be able to. If you come from a predominantly black neighborhood, you have to introduce that to a part of your culture to those individuals. You know what I mean? To
mm,
create something, you have to be the creator. And when it comes to like, I heard your topic on her story, and I was
mm,
just like, to myself, and this is my personal opinion. You're going to school for something, and there's going to be different nationalities in the workspace. Um, I don't like to confine myself to that one simple thing because when you get out in the real world and into the workspace, you're going to be uh, addressed with that every day. You know what I mean? You may go
mm,
into law, or you may go into the medical field, or you may live in a certain state where it's dominantly Caucasian. Okay, how are you going to fit in? Because I
mm.
feel like you're
What
closing
does fit
yourself
in
up
look
in a
like?
bubble,
What does fit
huh?
in look like? Is it when you say how are you going to fit in, right? What does
Mm.
fit in look like for everyone? Like, is it
Well,
about
me,
do you
I'm
eat
a
lunch
chameleon.
together? Okay.
I'm a chameleon. I'm African American. Okay,
Mm,
I I can fit in any situation. I know
okay.
how to speak. I know how to carry myself. I can go sit in a room full of millionaires, and they may think that I'm a millionaire, but I'm not. I'm far from it. But
Okay.
I can I can blend it. I'm willing to go up and ask those questions. Hey man, why y'all don't sit over here with us, man? Let me introduce you to my culture, bro, or whatever it is.
So that's
You know,
your personality kind of like drives how you are as far as how you either accept people or stay away from things. So your personality is kind of like that. That's your personality.
right? But I also the people that want to stay away, those are the people that I go into their circle to make things
Okay.
uncomfortable, to get an understanding of why. What's your why?
Okay. Let me bring on the tennis channel. Tennis channel, welcome to the show. I appreciate you calling in, man.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir. We can.
Hey,
We,
hey,
we
hey,
can.
great subject, man. Great subject. Okay, listen, quick experience for me. I went to a predominantly white college. I went to Howard Payne University. Anybody know
You
what
went to
Howard
where?
Payne? Howard Payne.
Howard
Howard
Payne.
Payne.
Where's that?
And you? as up in near the Texas Panhandle up north, where they snow a lot between Texas and Oklahoma, like almost right on the borderline there. And
Okay.
so, okay, so predominantly white college. Our basketball team kind of like mixed. My experience there, my personal experience when I went there, I was a very open-minded person about everything. My mom never taught me to be, go against anybody. So I was that kind of person. I'd hang around whites, I'd hang
Okay.
around blacks because I was used to doing that. My greatest pushback was from my own people
What
from
was your
high
high
school.
school like? Was your high school diverse, or was it like predominantly black?
High school was diverse. It was.
Okay.
It was. Now I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, you know what that's like. Okay, so it was predominantly white, but we had a lot of blacks that would go there. So it was kind of like half and half almost.
You talking about high
Oh,
school or college?
high school.
Okay. So
So
so both experiences were you were PWI both high school and college.
pretty much, but I experienced
Okay.
race. But my grade, I experienced. I experienced racism. Don't think because I went to those schools, I didn't experience it. Now, when I went to got to, when I got to Howard Payne, it was a little different because I was this outgoing person. I hang around everybody. Well, back in the day, you're in Texas, you hung around with your own, and they hung around with their own pretty much. I wasn't that kind of person. So I found me some white friends. Okay, the black folks got mad at me. So when I go to have lunch, if I want to sit with the black folks, they were kind of like, So I'm like, where am I going to sit in the middle or here? And it was like one of those type of things. Now
Mm,
Texas is a different place. It's a different. Well, Texas is just Texas. I lived there for about 5 years, so I know. But that was my experience in going to a predominantly white school. The experience, the racism, or the not liking me because of or whatever that I experienced, Harry, was because of was because of that.
mm. So this whole I don't want this conversation to turn into like it's all about racism
Right,
because the
right, right, right.
idea is like my PWI experience was not necessarily race it wasn't a racial experience at all. It was I have fun in college. I went
Yeah.
to UNC Greensboro. It was in the heart of Greensboro, North Carolina. So it was diverse. It was first a all girl school, and then it turned into it was integrated male and female, but it was a good experience. I didn't
Mhm.
necessarily feel like I was out of water or I was at a place where racism was just killing me. So I didn't have that weird experience. There was obviously things that we had to fight for because it was a predominantly white school. So the clubs that you get are the white clubs are going to have more money, all right? Because obviously the school has a budget for the different clubs. So each group has to actually, um, when you want to start a club, you have to submit your application and it has to meet certain guidelines. And if it meets that guideline, then you can submit for a budget. And if they have it, then they'll give you the budget. So at a predominantly white school, the white clubs would get bigger budgets than the black clubs. So what are you supposed to do? Are you going to sit there all day and just crowd racism? No, you're gonna do different things and try to get other members in your group and people who can maybe submit something or help you to get more money to raise money. You're gonna wash cars. You're gonna do everything you can do to try to fit in there and use whatever little budget, whether it's $500 for the year or is whatever to give you. You got to do with what you can, and then hopefully your members can supplement the rest so that you can go on trips. I know our gospel choir, we used to go to different churches and we used to sing, so we had to get vans and stuff like that. So we did have a budget, but that experience is there. So it's not all about race. It's about your overall experience being in a group. So I want to hear from some other
Hey,
people. I don't want this to just be black.
Mhm.
If you're white and you're listening, all right, this is not a racial thing. I want to know about experience. Like if you went to a HBCU, what was the experiences that you had? if you are in a group where like you are the minority, what are some of the experiences that you have? And the email, guys, is right on your screen. Join tlplive@gmail.com is the email. Email me because I would like to hear. I want to spend a few more minutes on this topic, and so that we can get, I just want to get like some other voices. And the
So
reason
Harry,
why I'm doing this, one second. And the reason why I'm doing this, if you are just joining the live, I'm doing this because of a video that I did with some young ladies that are at CU, and they had, they were just talking about their experience. And it's a young writer, I believe she's a writer. Her name is Kennedy Pickering. She did this article, and I shine some light on the article. And being black at CU, that is not an athlete at CU. What is that experience? But I'm just furthering the conversation so that we can have other voices. Go ahead, DC.
so while we wait, something I want to deal with. I know that some people are saying, well, Colorado is more liberal and all this kind of stuff. And I want y'all to think of these three terms of race when you deal with racism. There is
I want to deal with racism. I want to
well,
deal
no,
with
not that.
experience.
What we're experiencing, I'm saying there.
I want to
but
take this away from a racism.
right.
Yeah.
The experience being there is things that are things that are complicit, implicit, and explicit. And sometimes you're dealing with people and you don't know. Of course, we know what explicit is, and then we know what complicit is, where they're complying to something, and then implicit, they really don't know that they're operating in that. And so sometimes when you're in these environments, you need to be able to identify, is this explicit, which is really easy to determine that. Is it complicit, where they're just going along with the flow, or they just don't know? Because sometimes I've had to sit back, like one person just kept on saying, look, boy, look, boy. And I was like, you do realize if you say that to the wrong person, you're gonna get ate up. So you got to be careful. But the other thing I would say is that when I had to learn, we have to be able, I will always, when I mentor, people that look like me, I say, you got to build relationships and you can't be fear of the bad. You got to go in. Cause like, for example, in Alabama, it's a super majority of Republicans. Folks will sit back and say, I'm not negotiating with Republicans. You're never going to get anything done in this environment.
Right.
So I sat down and talked to a senator, and he said, you know what, Carson, I'm going to be honest with you. He said, I understand the dynamics. I don't like it. He said, but here's the real talk. He said, if you're not at the table, you on the menu. And so what I learned from that was real deep, is that I still got to go in there and get resources. And guess what? Once I understood that was a thing, I understood there were some things I was not willing to bargain, and there's some things I was willing to bargain. And that's what I think we have to, a good takeaway from that is, when you go into these environments, always have an objective, and don't always come in as you don't have to change who you are. You just got to be able to understand what, like, for example, if I'm walking through the woods, I don't have to change who I am. I just need to know where the snakes are. And it's just that simple.
If you are afraid of snakes or bears, like there's, if it's, you know what I'm saying? It's just, at the end of the day, like, I think what you just said is important, because I want people to really take something away from this talk. Everything doesn't have to be just about race, right? Because if it's just about race and racism and stuff like that, then we miss a lot of things. We miss something. You're gonna miss something if it's just like, oh, this person should be like this, you're like this, and we're always pointing fingers as opposed to trying to understand each other. So that's what I'm like, when you say like, if you're not at the table, then you are, you're on the menu or whatever. But it's like, why are we afraid to even like, let's just say, even if we knew that somebody was total, did you guys ever watch that movie where the black guy joins the KKK?
Yes.
Y'all ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it was funny.
It's, I mean, you don't have to go to that extreme, right? But I guess the essence of that is, if you never allow yourself to experience what somebody else is experiencing, how do you ever have dialogue? If the Democrats never want to talk to a Republican, how do you How do you try to, especially the fact that Democrats and Republicans are in the same country and they're trying to advance the agenda of the country? You see what I'm saying? Like, we're all trying to make sure that America is the greatest country that there is, so that, you know what I'm saying, we can keep our power in the world, we can get more resources to come into America. If we're trying to put a good front for America, right, then our politics has to kind of adhere to that. But you're Republican, you don't care about Democrats, you're Democrats, you don't care about Republicans. How do you ever get anything done together? Because I don't think that politics is supposed to be, you don't have to all be buddy, but I think politics has to serve the people. For those of you who are politicians out there who are so deep into politics, I thought it was supposed to serve the people. So if you're serving people, you're not serving whites and black, you're serving everyone. So how do we get to
really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I share something really quick? And I'm putting some stuff out there. My best friend, check this out. My best friend, he's white, he's a Mormon, and he's Republican. But he's my best friend. We have these conversations. We get into a lot of different things.
But what are you though? You didn't tell us what you were, so I don't know. When you say, but he's my best friend, are you not Mormon? I know you're black, but are you not Mormon and you are not a Republican?
I am not Mormon. I'm definitely not white. And I'm not a Republican.
Okay. Do you have a political choice?
I go back and forth. I mean, now you got the Republicans, the Democrats, and you got the Green guy. So why you
go ahead with your story? I just wanted to make sure that I understood. Like, when I didn't want to just be like an open air. Like, you're like, well, he's Mormon, so that's a bad thing or something. But when you say, but he's my best friend, I just wanted to understand like where you were coming from. That. But go ahead.
Where I was coming from, I was just trying to show you the differences and how that when we talk to people or we communicate with people, we allow our differences to separate us. Where the differences really has nothing to do with when you get down to the core of people. I trust this man pretty much in most cases with my life. Now and like I said, we get into some heavy conversations, some heavy stuff. There's a lot of differences there. But guess what? We don't go there. We're not ignoring it.
What do you clash on? Is it mostly on political lines or religious lines?
We clash on everything. Everything. But like I say, it's not a clash where, and sometimes the dog is just sitting there. I'm being personal here. The dog is sitting there looking at us saying, wah, wah. Then after, he said what he had to say. I said what I had to say. And now we're friends because what matters is our friendship. I was in some heavy stuff, man. And this brother stepped right in right away. When family didn't, he did. You see what I'm saying? So you can and you have to build relationships other than people that's not like you. But you have to be that kind of person. I'm going to put it this way. You have to be that guy that's willing to do that, Now, I have to he wanted to go. One time we went somewhere, man, had a little issue, and I had to hold him back because he wanted to, say, no, we don't go there. We're not going there. So I have to kind of like be the calm one. And, he's got some pretty radical views. But it's my best friend, man. We talk about a lot of stuff,
I kind of try to stay away from these topics on the platform that I respect because my views, I'm highly radical, and I just kind of keep my mouth quiet a little bit on these type of topics.
Well, I mean, if you're radical, that's fine. That is cool to be radical, but could we be radical and rational? Like
listening,
radical,
listening and being every now and then when I respect your views off to the side on this one.
Yeah, I understand. Everybody's like that, man.
So the idea is like a lot of people where we get to a place where I think we make everything so political. We charge everything is so like we're politically charged, and I think some of the things that we're looking for when you go to a school like CU, you have a different experience. when you go to a school like UNC Greensboro, you get a different experience. You get to understand, like, why do people think the way they think? And then sometimes if you're not anywhere near anybody that is different from you, one of my roommates was from Finland. His name was Dande Koshla. You're not gonna spell it, so you can't look him up. Good luck with trying to spell it. But his name was Dande Koshla, and he was from Finland. We had some conversations. Me being from Africa, a young African guy from Maryland, going to almost all white school at UNC Greensboro. We had conversations, and his family was rich. They had their I think their family business was they dealt with boats, they dealt with yachts, they built yachts and they sold it to rich people. And he was only coming to UNC Greensboro to learn this crazy math so that he can run the family business. And we had some really interesting conversations, things that I would have never learned from meeting somebody who's from Finland, somebody who had a whole different worldview, different perspective on how life is outside of our political conversations that we have in the US, whether you're Republican or you are a Democrat. The thing about going to these schools is, going to a PWI is, you meet people they may be white, but they're not from America. Yeah. They're from like the other side of the world. So you get to have these conversations and you're like, oh, wow. Because for the most part, if you go to HBCUs, you may meet somebody who's from a different place. Like you may meet somebody who's African. They may be black, but they're from Africa or they're from somewhere else. And you can have a conversation. But the thing is, the black experience, depending on where you're from in the world, it's almost a similar experience. It's like, how many people are black but really have a lot of money? There's always like this poverty line. Like it's like the narrative may be a poverty narrative, or you come from money, or you may be the one black person or the one black person that comes from money, or it's just, I like the fact that you get the opportunity to speak to somebody who may be different from you. They may be white, but you're learning that they're not American, and to hear their worldview, oh man, it's something to really hold of. I'm not advocating for everybody to go to white schools and to to try to just to understand different whites. I'm just saying, don't be afraid to try it, because you may learn something. There are people online I've seen some people, some channels online on YouTube. Their mission is to like a black person who their mission is to friend Ku Klux Klan members, or to friend people who are like really, really racist. And that's their life mission. And then they realize at the end of the day that once they get to meet that person, they have similarities. They may be upon maybe financial lines. They may be on, you know what I'm saying? Like they may like how their families were raised. They may have similar foods that they like. So that's what I always try to like. I try to find some type of silver lining in these type of conversations. Like, where do we go? What can we learn? Let's just say we find ourselves in a situation. What can we glean from that situation?
So Harry, like for me, I'm not as an open flower as others may be, because I grew up down the road from where you went to college. I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, predominantly black elementary. I may have seen a Spanish person here and there. Middle school, all black. High school, all black. And I grew up 5 minutes from NCCU, North Carolina Central. So all I really know is North Carolina Central, A&T, Howard, Virginia Union. Like growing up, I really didn't know about PWIs except for Duke and Carolina and NC State, because they were, their basketball programs in our state. But I didn't know them up close and personal. Now, we used to go to Duke University to play basketball, after school on that rubber gym. But I really didn't experience. I didn't have relationships with. I didn't have relationships with Caucasians growing up for a large portion of my life. So I'm kind of a closed flower to that aspect. I mean, I know how to deal with them in the workforce or whatnot. But eh, I'm just not as open as others may be with this topic. You know what I mean? Because I grew up a certain way around certain things in a
So
black town.
do you is your experience based on some personal thing that you had like when you were growing up? Is that where you glean that from, or is it from experiences that you've either heard about Martin Luther King, people getting shot by cops, and your things?
Yeah, so I'm a very historical type of person. I love our history. I study our history.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I understand our history, and I understand every part and every role that every other, I guess, race played in it.
Okay.
And
Okay. I see where you're coming from.
you know what I'm saying? So being that the fact that I'm knowledgeable to those things, it keeps me away from other people as much as I can. You have to deal with
Mm.
other people in certain aspects of this world because that's just the way it is. But if it's by choice, I choose not to.
So this
But
is a question for you.
okay.
You are a strong supporter of Coach Prime. Do you find yourself that the fact that he's at Colorado, are you conflicted then in that sense?
So I wasn't opposed to him elevating.
Because you are a strong supporter of Coach Prime. So
I, I
that's
am.
why I asked you that
I am.
question.
And the reason I'm a strong supporter of Coach Prime is not so much of his football profile and all that stuff. It's more so he intrigues me. He makes me proud because he's a black man that wears his blackness and he's not ashamed to wear it wherever he goes. And that just makes me feel proud. But when he went to CU, I was like, Colorado, the university, the percentage of black students. But I'm learning to take it on because he is there. But let me touch back to something. I had to hop out the car back when you guys were talking about it. I don't
Hmm.
think CU is trying to be more inclusive. I think that because
Your
they
audio is breaking up.
have
I think you're in a bad spot.
That's a great question, Harry, because I'm curious, as well. Like
all right,
I
so
get it,
back.
but go ahead, see you, Buff.
I'm sorry, brother. Um, we see you had what about three black coaches before Coach Prime, correct?
I think it was 3. Yeah, I think you're
Okay,
right.
yeah. So I don't see them as I see Coach Prime, and I don't see them. I didn't see them trying to institute the type of things that Coach Prime did. Because if you look at the makeup of the team when Coach Prime came, it was a predominantly white team. I
Hmm.
think CU is pretty much, let's say, putting up with the diversity coming in because they were in a situation where they was just at the bottom, out in the abyss. And sometimes when you're in situations like that, you kind of go to extreme measures to get back. And I just see them allowing Coach Prime to bring in the culture and stuff like that. I see it. I see it as like a long shot, like a last minute Hail Mary because
Do you
of
think it's a facade? You think
it.
that it's a facade?
That's a great word. Yes, I do. Like
Mm.
when you're down and out, I'm gonna just say when you're down and out as a university, you're not producing funds and the motion like you did back in the day. You kind of throw up a Hail Mary, and I really believe that Coach Prime and all this inclusivity and culture coming into the university, it's like a Hail Mary.
Mm.
They're putting up with it because of what it produces that they couldn't produce
So let,
before.
so let's put this on the record that I don't have that same view. I don't
Right,
think
right.
it's a facade. I can articulate why I don't think it's a facade. I mean, I can see why you're saying it's a facade, but I mean, according to Kennedy Pickering's article, she does articulate in there that they at some point they hired white supremacists and KKK members or something like that to teach at the school.
Whoa.
Um, so I kind of understand, and I would say at a certain point maybe they're trying to correct certain things. So I don't know if I would say it's disingenuous what they're doing, because I feel like I really like Rick George. I like the I don't think he's playing with it. I don't know that that's something he's playing with. He's not trying to find a great black hope. But let me bring on Mr. Stretch, Coach Mike Lowry. Welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you. You got to unmute yourself, brother.
Blessings.
What's up, Stretch?
So, hey, Mr. Stretch, do you feel like this could be a facade, or do you want to like address something that you heard earlier that we were talking about?
Well, hey, Henry, real quick. Hold on real quick. Now, Stretch will now formally be known as the White Owl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
If that's an inside thing, you're gonna have to break that down for us.
Nah,
Yeah, we got a little cartoon. Well, it can grow into a cartoon, but I hope one day with all the different things we done talked about on the other panel come to fruition. We got a little cartoon brewing that we need to get the cartoon designer.
All right. So y'all talking about something over there. Let's get to this topic.
Yeah. But I was gonna hit you up real quick. Ethnocentric. All right, is the process of judging another one's culture exclusively from the perspective of one's own. Ethnocentric people compare their culture to others on such elements as religion, behavior, language, custom, and norms. The term is frequently heard in situations where inter-ethnicity relations and ethnic issues are a concern. So when we start talking like that and grouping ourselves in different cultures, we get classified as these type of people. Chauvinists.
When you say talking like that, like what do you mean talking like what?
Okay, so when we have the article where the young lady feels alienated, right?
Oh, okay. You talking about the Pickering article? Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about everything. Just an overall idea of how certain races of people are grouped in to a certain way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And you call them flag waving. They're isolationists. They're partial. They're prejudiced. They're biased. They're discriminating. They're intolerant. They're bigotry. Like there's a lot of different things that go into these type of people that fall up under this type of thinking. So when you say you want to get a Caucasian person up here, we do want the Caucasian person to come up and share their experience. But when you want to talk about the demographics, Asians are the predominantly known race on Earth's soil. Then the Europeans are second. And so, but the Europeans' projection right now is going down by 14% every year because they are mixing cultures. So for a long time, we was taught cultures stick with each other. My grandfather then was like that, but I would ask my grandfather, well, if it was like that, grandfather, why are you going down there working? If you so strongly believe about your culture, why are you working at their jobs? So you have different perspective that comes with different interpretation from each individual. And I was so fortunate to go to college in 5 different locations. I'm a journeyman, as well as a place that has worked different jobs. I've been working since I was 12 years old.
So the idea of what we're like, where we're at right now at Colorado, Coach Prime being a Colorado predominantly PWI, getting to that dynamic where on one side they're enjoying all of the glamours of being a superstar athlete at a university where you're treated like stars, and then you go on campus and you're walking on the campus as a black person, and after everybody's cheered for the team, You're walking on the campus, and some of the students don't want to look at you, or you're doing a tour. According to Miss Pickering, you're doing a tour and you're giving a tour, and somebody asks you, "How are you even able to afford to come here?" One of the white people ask you, "Hey, how are you even able to afford to come here?" Um, that dynamic that they're dealing with, the experience that they're having, where on one side, man, we have a thousand channels that are talking about all of these athletes, which are predominantly black athletes, but then on another side, we're experiencing something totally different. Can
Man,
any of y'all speak on that? Like, and give me your like, what do you think is going on here? Like, that's what this show's about, and I wanted to flip that a little bit, and
I would
then
like to touch up on that.
yeah,
this
go
topic
ahead,
right.
Tim.
Oof.
I was just gonna say when it comes to that questioning that may have or may not have been asked, I look at that as a to create a percentage. Uh,
Create a what?
I also kind of look
Because your
at
audio
the
is your
fact
audio is
a
breaking up a
state
little bit.
that is uh, okay. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Hello. Oh, like my daughter is at ULM. That's another PWI school. And I told her, and she went to a dominantly black school, but I told her it's what you make out of it. But she graduated with a 4.5 GPA. She took all honor classes, but she wasn't able to get into Baylor University in Waco. So
Mm-mm.
I actually called down there to Waco and and asked a couple of questions
Mm.
because she has the grades to get into Baylor. Not only that, me and my wife, we're financially capable of paying her way through college
Mm.
as well. So, um, unfortunately, she didn't go to Baylor, and she's going to be a doctor. She's a senior. She coming up this fall. She's going to be a senior, and she's been doing very well. She in college, but I feel like they put you in a percentage bracket. Now, as far as everybody being able to afford to send their kids to college, the
Hey,
difference.
Kenneth, I don't mean to cut you off. What do you mean a per, percentage bracket? I think I know what you mean, but just
Mhm.
expound on that so people can understand what you're saying.
Okay, the
Please, sir.
percentage. What I mean by percentage bracket is like they have X amount of scholarships
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, we
for
understand.
athletes,
Yep.
and they have scholarships for uh, non-athletes, for high achievers. It's only so many full scholarships go out of a university, as well as partial scholarships. Um, but she qualified for 128 university.
Your audio is
What
breaking up a
makes
little
so
bit.
different than what makes that so different with Baylor? I feel like, at the end of the day, they have, and I could be wrong, but this is just my gut feeling based off my experience with my daughter. I feel like there's a number percentage. I ain't
Do
gonna
you
say
think they
number,
have
a
a quota?
percentage
Do you think they have a
of.
race quota?
Right. That's kind of what I was
I don't want to.
What
Yeah,
alluding
I know
to.
what you're trying to lead me into, but I'm trying to,
Yeah.
to veer off of it. So I just want to say a percentage of who they're going to allow in. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Who
Yeah.
they're going
you
to allow in, and I'm gonna pass that off to somebody else.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, that sounds
this,
like a race quota
this,
because I think affirmative action and I think when I went to UNC Greensboro, we had discussions about affirmative action, and we had things where I think at a certain point, like certain colleges or certain university had to have a certain percentage of blacks, and some of us were lucky enough to be allowed to go there to go to certain schools because of those those things that were in place by the government. You get rid of some of those things, and some of us cannot go to some of those universities because they don't really people in places of power. They're not necessarily trying to do the right thing or the wrong thing. I think they're just doing whatever looks like them. Because, like, okay, I'll give you another example where somebody who's casting for a film, right? They're doing a film. They're not necessarily looking for the wrong or the right people. They're just casting people who look like them. That's just all they know. So they're not, it's not wrong or right. It's just like you're going to put people around you who looks like you. So at the end of the day, they're not thinking about you the way that you think they should. They're not really necessarily thinking about you. And
Harry, I
it's
agree
not
with
Yeah.
that.
wrong
So,
or
hey,
right.
so
They're
tennis,
not
so
thinking
tennis,
about you. And I don't
I
think they
have.
have to.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
so oh, Harry. So I think the reason that that young lady was asked that question like that, how can you afford to attend this college? Because the data that maybe she's read, information that she's read about us as black folks, that you know, to go to those schools like that, your family have to maybe come from money, or you have to have money to do that. And they've always associated us with being people that's been in poverty. So what she was really saying, how can you, with your background, and this is what she read probably, the data that she read, that someone like you can afford to come to a prestigious college like this where I know where it's really expensive at. How can you afford to come here? That's really was what I believe the young lady was asking. And
But
I
Willie,
get
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
But that's one of those called implicit comments.
Yeah.
They don't really
Yeah.
realize it. But
Right.
I'm gonna tell you this, and this is straight up because I had a person who was a phenomenal mentor. So he was general, and he said that he said I'm just gonna be honest with you, Carson, because I want to see you successful. And discussions how stuff happens, and you can best believe that they have what's called crayon box conversations, and that means is y'all can pick who you want to. It's just when you come out this room, the crayon box better look good. That means you better have each color represented. And that does go on at those levels. I had a friend of mine whose son applied to Baylor, didn't get into Baylor, lucky to go into UAB for medical school. But I'm telling y'all, and here's the thing, I'm going to sit here and say this quick dip into politics. Y'all think these people don't like each other, but they sit and eat with each other. Something I got to peek behind the cloth, but behind the
What do you
curtain
mean?
one
Which
time.
people don't like each other? Which people? What are you talking about?
We think Republicans and Democrats don't like each other. That is not true.
They love each
That
other.
that
Oh, okay.
that these folks behind closed doors, I got a chance to peek behind the curtain. I am here to tell you, I ain't gonna go too deep into it, but a lot of what y'all see is that, think about this. Everybody has to, when you're dealing with certain power, I'm gonna say this and be quiet, that you have to you have to blow the problem up so you can be Superman. And you have to make it go back and forth of I'm the one that's going to save you. I'm the one that's going to help you. And that continues to support. A lot of these things y'all see is coordinated them. A lot of these people y'all see arguing will be sitting in DC eating at 5-star restaurants talking about what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when y'all see stuff come out where somebody's a scandal, they all got dirt on each other. That drink normally happens when somebody didn't decide to play fair. When you look at what's going on in Georgia with a certain trial, it was somebody, hey, I want to get somebody, but those people fight back. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So
So,
have you?
like,
Where have I heard that before? Before is it somebody, was somebody talking about the devil where you create the problem, you solve the problem so you can look like the
Yeah,
hero that solved
Yeah,
the problem
yeah,
that you created? I heard
yeah,
that from somewhere before.
yeah.
so like with my son, I have my son. He's a senior in high school right now at Clayton High School in Clayton, North Carolina. He has a 4.6. He's top of his class, top of the school, and everything. Uh, he got over 15, 17 offers for full ride scholarships, mostly to predominantly white institutions, which I'm not going to name them, but he selected to go to a full ride at Morehouse, which just made my soul cry. But I didn't, in the selection process, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really put too much of my thoughts and beliefs on the situation as far as PWIs. I kind of wanted him to make his own decision, but I did give him a little bit of knowledge of what went on in our history, what's going on present, and what's more than likely to be going on in the future, and the type of things that he can face in those type of situations. But I was just so proud that he selected Morehouse. But he had a lot of offers from predominantly white institutions. But I didn't want to come in and say, no, son, you don't want to go there because, XYZ, XYZ. I just gave him a little bit of history and hoped and prayed that he made the right choice, and he made the right choice to me. So, and he's going to be an attorney. So now that's
So
doing he's going to do his undergrad at Morehouse. Now I don't know where he's going to do grad school at as far. So I
mm,
don't.
I would be great.
I mean I'm so proud that he went. He choosing
so
Morehouse. Just I love it.
so guys, to pivot, right, at the end of the day, right, I want to bring this to a close so we can get a little bit into some of the issues that Colorado still has as far as how to go deep into the playoffs. So the conversations we've been having, I've been trying my best not to make it racial. It's about experience. There's two different types of experiences on campus where I believe Tim, who was recruited to go to to run track, and if you are an athlete on school, you have a totally different. If you are a star athlete, not just an athlete, because sometimes just being an athlete is not enough, but you have two totally different experiences. And what I want to let people know is like people's experiences are real. It's not just always a political thing. It's about something that you are feeling personally. If you're feeling a certain way, whatever you are feeling, whether it's discrimination, biases, and or somebody's just the prejudices that people have, that feeling that you're feeling is real. And there's a lot of students that are at CU that are feeling that feeling where and that's why I guess Kennedy was trying to articulate that there are students at CU that feel like, hey, now we're getting all of this attention for these football players, but there's still a culture here that is feeling like left out, that is feeling like they're being kicked by the wayside, because after we all cheer for the team, we all got to go back on campus. And when we go back on campus, we're not treated like those football stars. We're treated differently. We got to go back to those clubs where we don't have, like, we're going to be the talking black kid, because you don't have a lot of black sororities on campus where we can have a community. You don't have the fraternities where we can feel like we have a community. We have to go back to those fraternities that are white, and we be the token black kid where they're not doing anything that we like to do. It's mostly going to be stuff that white people do, and then we just want to have to kind of assimilate or fit into that. So there is a whole nother dynamic that's going on on CU's campus that I wanted to bring awareness to, so that people can understand that all of this football talk and everything that we're talking about when it comes to Colorado, there's a whole nother thing that's going on. It'll be nice. I would love to see, because sometimes we used to bring people on campus that would speak to issues that are going on the campus. I think it'll be really nice to see Coach Brown spearhead maybe one of those. I know he probably won't do it because then it'll feel divisive, which sometimes you're just going to have to take a leap sometime. But I'm just saying, it may be nice where Coach Brown can like maybe bring some students together and speak on some of the issues that the non-football kids, black kids, are going through, and start to talk about some of these issues and say, hey man, how can we help diversity at the university as well?
I want to say something before you change the topic real quick. Another thing, when you bring in that diversity aspect into statistics, you got to remember that we are held to a higher standard of a moral obligation to know the different norms when we have ethics. Like we can't be delusional when we come into a situation where we in an organization or institution and we understand the dynamics of what's going on. You know, like you told Tim earlier, that's your personality allowing you to do these things. We sometimes we got to get out our own way and allow our personality to take place, and don't be allowing our color to gentrify us of what kind of person we are. You know what I mean?
Well, what happens when your personality is not Tim? What happens when you're not Tim and you don't have a Tim personality? What happens if you're just a person that just kind of like you're into yourself, and but you also want to have culture there. You also want to have things there that represent you. Not everybody is outspoken. We can't pretend like everybody is a Tim that, or everybody is a Willie from the tennis channel who can assimilate easily, who knows how to code switch. Some people are just raised in a society maybe more so aligned with CU Buff Dynasty, where they grew up in a place where they got a lot of culture, they know their history, and they're still a little bit, they feel some kind of way about that, but they couldn't help where they were accepted and they had to go and they ended up at a PWI. So if they're not that and they're still having a CU Buff kind of feeling, but they end up at a PWI, how do they assimilate? How do they get cultured in?
Well, it
Can I
takes
say something? Oh,
I want to put this out there. It takes a tribal system, I believe. You know, identifying who you are as a person and identifying the people that you want. They say you want to get with the winners, not the losers. So identifying the winners and knowing how they're carrying themselves. You know, you're gonna have, like they said, 2% of the population on campus is of color. So you're gonna have those people that are around trying to put some things together. You just gotta get out your own way sometimes.
can I say something real quick, Harry,
Go
before
ahead,
you
Tim.
move on?
Go ahead.
I just want to say, uh, and this directly to Kennedy, if she listening or she just so happened to listen. PWIs, when it comes to student athletes, uh, they are recruited to make money. And I don't want this to fly over nobody's head. They are there to make money because the school, the university is a business. They there to collect. When it comes to the regular, the 2% of African Americans on campus, they're gonna take from it. They're gonna take from your pockets. Um, and you're not gonna get that experience that a student athlete get. They're gonna get the best dorms. They're gonna get the best meals. They're gonna be treated like royalty because that is the school's investment.
Please break that down. 'Cause I'm lost on that one. Go a
Okay,
little bit more in depth so I can understand that, please.
okay. The school, when they give out that full scholarship, right?
Hmm.
That's an investment to the university as a student athlete. So the school know, okay, if I bring this Jordan Seaton in, if I bring Deion Sanders in, if I bring Shador in, Shiloh in, Travis Hunter, Cormani McClain, etc., those are investments because they know that they're going to get their money back. They're going to make their money back. When it comes to an academic student or a partial scholarship. Partial mean exactly what it means. You still owe money. So they're going to take from you. You're not going to get the best dorms. You're not going to get the best meals. You're not going to eat what those student athletes are eating. And I can just tell you from experience, uh, by me going to LSU and staying in the sports complex and eating total different meals than some of my uh some of my friends that was not student athletes ate at the calf.
Well, first of all, you got to pay for the meal.
Yeah,
So that's
so
one thing
what
to
I'm
think about.
saying,
You got
they
to pay for those
okay,
meals.
okay, so my friends that um weren't there, yes, they had to pay for it. But them athletes, a lot of stuff we didn't have to pay for, man.
No, you don't. If you're on scholarship, you're not paying for those things. I have friends that went to Clemson and other universities that play soccer. So yeah, I mean they're getting cliques, they're getting a lot of stuff. But the like what Tim is saying, like the investment is for the school, the university to make money, and they're gonna cash in on their investment. So while those kids are there, they used to like take advantage of them, but now because of NIL, you're seeing a little bit of a difference, a dynamic change in the college ranks where now kids are actually able to make money. But no, the experience is going to be totally different. You're walking on the campus as a black student. um, you're not treated the same way as an athlete. Those athletes are a huge investment for the university. So I definitely understand what Tim is saying as far as that is concerned. Like the investment is going to be protected at all costs. so so all right. So anybody else wanted to say anything about this before we pivot
Can,
and move
I,
away?
yeah, I just want to ask the panel something. Can you imagine what some of our young black athletes go through at these predominantly white institutions, even though they may be stars on the field? Can you imagine going through the town or through the campus and you still getting called nigga somewhere down the road? Excuse me. What? It, you still getting called the N word. You're still being looked down upon. Uh, you're still facing prejudice and racism, but you running these touchdowns and you're dunking these basketballs and you're running a 10-6 in the 100 meter and stuff. This is why I'm a strong component for our kids going to HBCUs and to the universities with the black head coaches, people who can relate to them, people who really have their best interests at heart. Because the realization of the situation is that 95% of these 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, whatever type of athletes, they don't go to the pros. They don't make it professional. And what happens is these universities, what was happening, these universities was using them up for 3 to 4 years. They didn't really care about the education. They really didn't care about personal development. And when the time is up, they send them back to the communities from which they came from. And the colleges benefited highly from them being there, but the kids never benefited from them. This is why I say go to HBCUs where you got a coach that has been through what you've been through, understand your struggles, understand your family struggles. If I'm playing for Alabama and I'm riding down the road and I get pulled over and I get just highly harassed by, let's say, one of those white state troopers, but when he finds out that I'm the defensive tackle for Alabama, oh man, he kind of lets me go or whatever, and it affects me emotionally. It affects me mentally. Do you really think that our kids can go and sit in Nick Saban's office and express their grief to him and he will understand what they're going through?
A lot of
No,
kids have a
no, he
lot of
wouldn't
kids have
understand what they're
expressed.
going through. You understand what I'm saying? Because he never been through it. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. A lot of kids have expressed that concern that has uh hit the transfer portal. Uh, but I do want to say this real quick. I
Right.
have a little bit of pushback on what you just stated.
Okay.
Because if somebody gonna offer me, and this is what I have a problem with. You mentioned 3-star and 4-star and even 5-star. Everybody's not gonna make it into the pros. That's a fact. But
Yeah, let's. So
if
let me interject
if
right
you
quick.
go
Let
if
me
you're
interject
gonna
right
give
quick.
me a
We don't want to say everybody's not going to make it. We want to say 95% of the kids are not going to make it. So
okay
that number is real tight
95%
of the
a
kids who are
high
going to make it.
okay a high we all know on this panel a high percentage of those guys will not even get an invitation to the combine, right? Okay, so they
Right.
got to prove themselves on pro day, correct? Okay,
Correct.
but now if you gonna get offered a free scholarship, they can call me anything they want to call me. They can treat me any kind of way that they think that's getting to me. But it's one thing for sure, they can't take that paper away from me. Now, and you got to be mentally strong to endure that. But if they're gonna pay for me to get a scholar, if they're gonna pay for my scholarship, you better believe I'm gonna take full advantage of getting that scholarship. And another thing, real quick, I hate to say this because I started off at LSU, but I graduated from Southern University.
There you go, my brother. There
Okay,
you go.
now, but hold on, don't get too hyped up just yet. The that uh, if I would have finished at LSU, I'm going to get looked at quicker than I would have in my piece of paper from Southern University. It's
I,
sad to say that, but
it's
that's
sad to say. Yes,
reality.
it's reality. It's reality. I can agree with you. I agree. But
Yeah, so I
most
guess the question
most of
I
these
had a
kids,
question about that. It's not necessarily a pushback because I mean I I respect everybody's opinion, you know, whichever way that you grew up and whichever way you spin your world. Is it reality to that every athlete go to a black coach, and are there enough black coaches to where the top athletes, all of them can go to black coaches? I mean, can go to and have the black experience. And how does that look like in this world? Like realistically, how does that look like? What does that look like?
realistically, it's not. You know what I'm saying? I definitely see what you're saying. But I mean, in a perfect world, that's what I would want. You know what I'm saying? But realistically, it's not because there's not a lot of black head coaches in Power Five or in the upper echelon of football programs. But that's pretty much more my hopes and dreams or my
Okay,
wants
so
and desires. You understand what I'm saying? But I know the realistics of everything.
so at the end of
I,
the day,
I believe, uh, I believe that there are some white coaches out there that are empathetic. They understand, but then they realize sometimes there's nothing they can do. But I will sit and listen at you. I will talk with you. I understand where you're coming from, but they in themselves know that that they're helpless to a certain degree. That they could do only what they could do as a coach, and most of the time kids just want, they just want to be heard. They want to be heard by my coach. Hey, look, I don't like this. I don't like this. Look, I understand it. Da. Hey, if you need some time off, take some time off. You need to go home with your family. We won't count that against you. And a
Was
lot of the coaches do that.
see the push. I'm gonna give you a little bit pushback on that, and I'm gonna
Sure.
give you a story to go with that as well. So we look at the situation with the kid that was at, I think it was USC with Lincoln Riley,
Okay.
and he kind of gave him a fit about being away for a while because he had mental health problems. Did you see the way that he handled that kid? These are the things that I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys know about this situation where the guy secretly recorded Lincoln Riley. He was out from the team because of mental health. He had issues and he needed some time off,
Hmm.
and he was eventually put off the team.
well, universities have policies based on that though, so it's
They
not
do.
necessarily.
They do. They do.
Hmm.
They do.
You said somebody said that was Lane Kiffin, not
Yeah,
Lincoln Riley.
Lane Kiffin. That's right, Lane Kiffin. I'm sorry, I was about to say I get them all mixed up. They all the same to me, but
Yeah, so that's not. I don't look at that as like when it comes to that. That's not a black issue. It could be an issue it could be a general issue, a coaching issue. But I wanted to say this also though. There are black coaches that are not head coaches. I mean, they're at these PWIs. You have assistant coaches that are black. So if a child had a situation, they have position coaches that are black. So you can lean on somebody. It's not like, oh, most schools have all white staff. I don't know any school that has all white staff on every level. There are people there that you can deal with, that you can talk to. They have counselors, counselors that they have hired for you to speak to. So you can always find somebody that you can speak to in a community, because at the end of the day, man, if we take it all the way back and say, okay, listen, you might want to think about the fact that you're looking out for number one. If you're looking out for number one, what is the best scenario that you can put yourself in so that your family can get out the ghetto, or whatever your situation is, whatever your why is, right? So sometimes it's best for you to go to some of these higher schools, and it's just the simple fact that it's going to give you the best opportunity to be seen. These HBCUs are not on this level yet where you go to these schools. If you're not a Travis Hunter, or you're not one of these guys, and you just one of those blue collar guys that's going to make it to the NFL, you got to put yourself in the best scenario where you could be seen. And it's not always at an HBCU, and it may not be at an HBCU because the media is different at HBCU. Like they're not there. The media is not at HBCU. You will not get no shine at HBCU on
so
a higher level, or a high enough level, if you're not a big star.
right. So even with the viewability of your profile when you're playing football in the PWIs, like I said, 95% of those kids don't even get a chance anyway. So why not? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's a catch-22. You won't get a bunch of viewability at an HBCU, then you might not get a chance, and then you go to a PWI and you get all the media viewability, and then you still don't get a chance. You
Well,
understand what I'm saying?
that's going to take place. That's what you're actually taking. You got to weigh all of those things, right? At the end of the day, you got to weigh them all. You got to say, okay, would I rather be on TV, and if I make a tackle, somebody saw it and said my name, or would I rather not be at the TV but help my community, right? And if I make a tackle, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to see it fall, did it actually make a sound? Like, if nobody says your name, like maybe every now and then you have, you get somebody on ESPN or on a national television station saying your name, and you can use that as leverage for you to maybe sneak into a combine. But if nobody ever says your name and you get caught up on some of these college videos where it's like, it's worse than some of these high school videos, then your tape is not as important as maybe somebody calling your name on an ESPN, or having those call letters like you see my logo at the bottom, like where you see CBS, ESPN, or you see ABC. If you're on one of those tapes and you see those letters, it could mean something. It's just like it's just like the school that you choose. And when you enter the workforce, when they see that on your resume, it means something. That's what I mean.
I got you.
Othello says, you guys are speaking from your perspective. There should be some college kids on the panel. Every generation of black people thinks differently. Well, I mean, we were talking about a generation of black kids that are at CU. The girl's name is Kennedy Pickering. She wrote an article. But I invite everybody to come on. If they don't want to come on, I can't really help them. But I mean, regardless of the generation or whatever generation that you were in, it's obviously going to be, it's going to be similar. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, rap music has changed, and a lot of people are consuming black content, and they may look differently, but yet you're still dealing with the parents of those young kids that are going to those concerts, where they will ask you, hey, can you even afford to be here? Or they're looking at you weird, and they're still discriminating because they're not used to your culture. Just like TikTok and all of these things, and the young folks may know, but the older generation, the old guard is still in charge. They are the one that's keeping the status quo on the racial line. So,
Hey,
but the young
Mike,
folks,
there's a guy, there's a guy in the panel named Mike. I mean, in the chat. Mike, I totally disagree because if that was the case, there would be more black coaches in the Power 5 PWI football programs. So I got to disagree with that comment.
so what does it say? Mike says you need to couple of these new races full of hate of panel or to lose viewers. Ask the one guy if he's ever been to a white college or enrolled even. What is that? What does
So
that mean?
his last comment, the last one, the most present one up there. I didn't even pay attention to that one you just read.
You guys need to get into the present day. Nobody cares if a coach is black or white as long as they win in college or the NFL. I don't know that we're talking about more so like this discussion was about whether people cared about black or white coaches. I think we were talking about experiences. So I mean, people, if you take it all the way, and that's why I would say I wanted somebody like maybe like Mike. If you're white, your picture looks white, but I wanted somebody to come on the panel and give me a different experience. Like, but we cannot always dismiss these kind of conversations and just say, well, nobody cares anymore, because obviously people do care. Because if you go to Twitter and you see how many fans are against Coach Prime and they're saying stuff, then you will understand. But that's not what this conversation was about, Mike. This conversation was more so about the experience that some of the kids that are non-athletes that are having at CU. And I think that we were trying our best to say, hey, what are the experiences that people are having? Not that people care about black or white coaches. No, they don't. People don't care. The fan base wants to win. But guess what? After the kids that are being treated so highly have left the field, after they leave the field, guess what? The ones that are cheering, the black ones that are cheering in that stadium with the white ones, when they go, their experience on campus is different. They're walking into a whole nother world after the game is over. They're going back into their little cocoon where they only have a small percentage. So we're not talking too much about race today, not necessarily. If I can, we're talking about more experience as a whole. Like, hey, do you get fried chicken at your school? Hey, how are you feeling? Like, do you have people you can talk to? Those things are important other than just black and white all the time. It's like, hey man, what do you like collard greens? Do they ever serve collard greens in your cafeteria? The experience that you're having, not always like, oh, I'm against black and I'm against white. And we have that conversation, but we never talk about, I guess, experience. And it's hard to do without race, but it's like experience. What are you experiencing? Like if you're white and you're at an all black job, I mean, how do you feel when you're when you're the minority, when you find yourself in the minority? Those conversations get pushed to the side because it's always kind of grouped into that whole racial thing, and nobody wants to talk about that because it doesn't feel right. We rather feel good than to be having these tough conversations. I mean, we spend so much time. It is Free for All Friday. We spend so much time talking about the black experience that we kind of like, it's kind of like swallowed up the whole entire show. But I guess on Monday's show I'll just start off with the football stuff, and we can talk about the empty spaces that are in CUs that is still there for CU, where we get a push into the that's things that are going to give us a push into the playoffs or into the postseason. But I mean, did y'all feel like, I know it got a little quiet because whenever these are tough conversations, I ain't gonna lie, okay? These are not gonna be popular conversations. And these are right. So I just want people to know that from a creator's perspective, I want you to know I take an L on these conversations. All right. I always take the L on these conversations, but sometimes
you know what, Harry? I think it's good. I did a lot of listening. I was listening to what everybody was saying. Everybody was pretty much spot on. And I think you hit it right on the head where you said each of us have experienced something different, you know. Though I went to a predominantly white college, but then I left and I went to HBU school. So
HBCU.
I'm sorry, HBCU school. And so everybody experiences different. And that's a good thing. And that's why, I respect everybody on this panel because we all are different, man. Like I said at the beginning, I gave you a picture of my best friend, man. And we're totally different, but we're able to talk about things. And that's like you said, this is a very touchy subject and it can lead over into a lot of our experiences with racism. Being a black man at Howard Payne University, up near the Panhandle, first time being in
being that
snow.
kid that missed that pass, that white guy that missed that pass at Jackson State.
Oh, they
You know what I'm saying?
Oh
dogged
Like
my
him.
God. Oh
They
my
that's an
God.
dogged that
experience.
guy.
That's an
Woo.
experience. Also, that's why I wanted
Yeah.
to ask the. I try to further the conversation away from just our experience. Because what do you think it felt like for that white kid to miss that pass and for them to lose, and then Coach Brown's final game? And I'm sure he caught some some heat for that. So everybody has an experience. If you are a minority in a space, you have an experience. If you are the only guy that works in an all girl or all woman company, you have your experience. So our experiences are real to us, and that's what I wanted to articulate today. Not necessarily always about how I feel, but like you know, a question would come out here is, how do you feel about how I feel? You know what? That's
Yeah.
important. Like, how do
I'm
people feel about how you feel about what you feel about? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm I'm
does it
I'm
matter
like
to
you,
you?
Harry. I'm like you, Harry. When these type of topics come up, I catch big L's. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, I respect your show, so I really didn't go in depth on how I feel. But I really don't care about what nobody thinks about me because I stand on what I stand on. I believe in what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna
Mm.
stick with it. I don't even care if people look at me sideways or whatever they have to say about me, whatever. I stand on what I stand on. I believe in what I believe in. I think what I think, and that's just the way I am, and that's just the way I am going to be. But I
So,
do
so,
understand that there are different people with different perspectives, though.
so a question that I had where for you, it's like, okay, you're strong, like you are what do we call a strong black man, right? And what if I had a strong white man and on the show, and he felt the way that he felt about black people or about his culture and not integrating and going to all white schools, and there should be all white schools, like the exact opposite of you. So the question would be, this would be my question for you, CU Buff, and then for that guy, right? I would say, do you feel like, how do you feel about how CU Buff Dynasty feel? And then I would say, CU Buff Dynasty, how do you feel about how that white guy feels about his culture? And then is it possible that you can ever listen and not listen to respond? Can we be empathetic to that white guy and why he feels the way he feels, and can we ever hear him out? Or is it always going to be, well, you're the you're the on both sides? If we can ever if we can ever hear each other and care a little bit about why they feel the way they feel and just empathize on any level at all.
Hey, can I say something on that, Harry? Here's
Yeah.
what I'm. Here's what I hear. Here's what I hear. I talk to a lot of brothers, and what I get a lot of time from the brothers that black men are angry. We're mad, and sometimes we don't know what we're mad at. So, in that respect, I understand. I understand the anger. I understand. I understand our history and everything. Listen, I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. Got moved in the neighborhood, got ran out of the park because I wanted to go play some basketball by a whole bunch of white people, white guys. And so I have, some stories like that. But I understand it. So I think the number one thing is that, and the reason that, we love you, CB. It's the fact that I understand, brother. I know where you're coming from. I understand why some brothers can hold on to that stuff, hold on to it, and feel the way they feel. Well, if I wasn't raised the way I was raised, I would probably feel the same way. But I'm more of an open person now. I'll walk up to a little old white lady and look at her and just start making her laugh. Not knowing this lady probably had some kind of history behind her, didn't like black folks. I didn't care. My personality didn't care, you know. So yeah, the understanding I think has to come in. It's where, where you have to understand. You have to be able to have what, and it have to be an honest understanding. And most people don't want to take the time to do that.
Mm. Yeah, man. So, like I said, these type of shows, I
And I
do them.
commend you for that, Tim.
Oh,
I do
it's
these
real,
type of
brother.
shows.
It's real.
We. I will take the L. I don't mind taking the L. I mean, like as far as a creator or content creator, these videos don't get a lot of views, and the interactions are not the same because the topics are hard for people to have. So, but you gotta your mission and who you are, just like you, tennis channel. At a certain point, there gotta be something more into it for you.
Yeah.
It's gotta be worth a little bit of something. Maybe somebody got something out of this today. Maybe somebody's gonna listen and say, you know what, I, I'm white, but I hear what you're saying, and I'm Republican, but I do hear what you're saying. Maybe I just need to just shut up sometimes and just listen to somebody else. Maybe I just need to just listen to a Democrat and see what are you saying. Maybe you got some points there that I can take away, or maybe I'm a Democrat and I can just shut up sometimes about my feelings and just listen to the feelings of a Republican and see why they feel the way they feel. If somebody takes that away, then the views that I could have gotten to get paid on the crazy shows, I think it's worth it for me. So that's a higher thing. That's a higher thinking. And I take those away from shows like these. So while I'm taking an L on the other side of it, I think the W is worth more. The one person with that W is worth more because I challenge them to think differently. To just say, hey man, I know how you feel about us talking about white black experience on CU's campus with 31,000 students are there and only 800 plus students are black. But have you ever stopped answering or have you ever stopped talking long enough to just think, hey man, what if the way that they're feeling is real? What if what they're feeling and have maybe the stereotype of maybe there's not enough chicken spots around, maybe that's real to them. Have you ever stopped to just think for a second and just stop talking for a second and just listen and say, "Oh, dang, that is important to them," or not having a sorority that's all white? Oh, maybe that is important to them. If one person, whether you're white, black, or other, can take that away from that, then I'll make up in what I don't get from these type of shows. I'll make up for the other types of shows where I get more views. And so yeah. All right, tennis. Give me your final thoughts. Let's go ahead and close out. It was a little tough today. It was quiet because these are tough topics. But give me your final thoughts on the show today.
Oh, great show, Harry. I appreciate you and appreciate the panel. Um, you know, like I said, man, it's all about, like you said, and you brought up some of it about, our experiences and everything. And so, but like I said, great show, brother. Appreciate it. I was looking forward to the. You kind of set me up there a little bit, but the show went where it went because I was looking forward to the topic you had there. That was pretty good, brother. I like that. But it was it was a great show. Um, um, so you're doing good. We're doing good with it. People are listening. Trust me, brother. I be listening at these other shows, and they're listening. They hear you.
I agree. I definitely agree to that. That people are listening. I was listening to Club Shay Shay, the Terry Crews interview, and he
Oh
says the one thing that he realizes is that everybody's always listening. That somebody's always watching and listening. So I take solace in that. I understand that somebody's always watching and always listening, and my hope is that people see my heart and they don't take these type of topics out of context and always saying, "Oh well, if you go over to the TLP, they're always talking about race." I hope it's not like that. I hope that they get something from it and how important it is to have these type of conversations that are surrounding Coach Prime. Mr. Stretch, you've been kind of quiet today. You didn't bring no controversy. I don't know why, but I was looking forward to something so I can cut that out and then at least get some views from it. But I didn't get that from you today, so that kind of sucks. But it's all good. What are your final thoughts? What are your final thoughts, man?
Nah, man. You know, one thing about me, man, I'm always evolving, and
All right.
I'm not gonna stay dormant. You know what I mean? But remember, we gotta process things where we don't judge another's culture. We have to have a perspective where we want to just figure out what everybody's customs and norms are like so we don't get stuck in the box. Yeah, we want to be pro this, pro that, optimistic towards our own culture. But there's things that out there we don't even know, that we haven't even experienced. And so to keep our brains and our views and our ethics in one small little box, we should be ashamed of ourselves.
You said we
And
should or we should not?
we should. Because when we get to the kingdom gonna be made up of different people. It ain't gonna be just one, it ain't gonna be one predominantly race of people.
Well, there's not gonna be no color in the kingdom either, so that's gonna be weird. There's no color. It's all spirits.
Yeah.
So what's the color? What's the color of a spirit?
There's no color of a spirit. There's no color for spirit. You're gonna be a spirit. So now we're gonna have to just deal with whatever it is we're dealing with without the color. I wonder how that's gonna work. Anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off, Stretch. Go ahead.
Nah. One thing about me, I know when to shut up.
Are you done? Because I want to go. I can go to see you, Buff.
Go ahead.
Well, thanks you, Stretch. I appreciate you. So see you, Buff Dynasty. You know, I know you have some strong feelings about, you know, the topic, but what are your final thoughts, man? What do you want to let the people know?
I'm in a bad signal here, so I might go in and out. But great show as always. I like all the different topics and viewpoints. To my man Tennis Channel and Stretch, I commend you for, you know, being, I guess, like an open flower and being able to reach across the board. Even at 46 years old, I have not matured in that area just of yet. And to honestly be speaking, I can't even necessarily say that I want to. I want to stay where I am with the mind frame that I have. Now, I'm not saying that I can't work with white people and I don't work with the other side. Well, I'm not even going to say whites, just other races. I can and I do because of the construct that we live in.
You said the other side. God, that's strong. The other side.
But for the most part, it's just something that if I had the choice, whenever I have the choice to, I don't. And I'm going to stand on it. I'm probably going to take that to my grave. But I commend you guys for being able to do that. And I'm proud of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of you. But great, always, man. It's always good to touch on topics that kind of pierce in the side a little bit. It's always good to get it out sometime. I enjoyed it. And I appreciate you for having this type of topic today, Friday, Harry, on a Friday.
You're welcome, man. I respect the honesty, and I think it starts there. I think it starts with being honest that you're not there, and you know, if you start there, I wish I had a white guy on the channel where he could articulate where he comes from as far as that is concerned. But sometimes it's hard to get white people to come on these type of panels because sometimes they're judged unfairly and it's hard for them to see themselves in these conversations because of that judgment. But I
Hey,
like the fact, and I respect the fact that you're honest with your feelings about, you know, your pro-blackness. And my prayer to you, see you above dynasty, is that you will open up, that your worldview will be a little different. Do you travel? Let me ask you a question. Do you travel?
I've been everywhere across the board, man. And
Mm,
everywhere I've been, I've always seen that the black man is on the bottom and treated the worst by these same people that
mm,
we try to reach across the board and work with. That's,
mm.
you know, I,
So even traveling, your worldview has not changed as much as you travel. Like that has not really swayed you. It's made it even
no,
stronger.
it made it even stronger
Wow.
because everywhere I've been, I haven't been to Paris and France, places like that, but all the other countries and stuff I've been to, if you really
Hmm.
look around, the black man is on the bottom and he's treated the worst. You
Mm,
understand what I'm saying? So this what keeps me locked in on my viewpoint, my perspective.
hey,
mm.
see
Yes,
you. I
sir.
got some great news for you, sir. Guess what? I still get called the N word, in spite of me
How is that
Yeah,
and
great
who
news?
I am. Still, still get
Oh,
listen,
yeah,
brother.
yeah.
And look, I'm tall, I'm big, and I'm black.
right,
And the first thing, I mean, here in San Diego, I walk across the street, man. I hear door knock going click, click, click.
right,
You know, and I look at them and laugh. So you know what? I still get it, dude. And I
right,
just look at people and just laugh at them. I say, like, that is so funny.
right.
Door knobs clicking, and this big black man walking towards me. People walk on the other side of the street, or they look at you funny and stuff.
Yep.
But I look at it this way: that's your issue. That ain't my issue. I think I'm the greatest person in the world. I'm the best friend you're gonna ever have. You gonna ever meet.
True.
And that's how I have. That's how I look at myself, dude.
True.
You know, I don't allow other people, and I'm like Prime on this. I don't allow other people's opinion change me or sway me in one way or the other, because I know who I am. But they are
Let me
like,
go to
yeah, go
Now,
ahead.
one
let me
thing,
go
one
let me
thing
go
that
to
I don't do, I don't allow my personal beliefs and my stance to affect business. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I don't
that's
I don't
important.
let it affect that part. I know how to work with across the board just as well as anybody else. But like I said, if I have a choice to, I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. All right, so I mean, like I respect it. I respect how you feel, and that's all we can do is respect how somebody feels. That was the purpose of the topic that we never got off of. But just respecting how somebody feels, and I challenge any white person listening, or somebody who feels strongly different from the way that See You Above Dynasty feels, to hear them, to hear him. Like why? Like is it important? It's important that you hear him. And when I say hear him, I don't mean just like listen to talk, but hear him. Why he feels the way that he feels, and if that's important to you. And if it's not important to you, then obviously, then you're kind of justifying the reason why he feels the way he feels. So, Tim, Mr. Tim, man, what are your final thoughts on today's show?
Hey, great show, Harry, man.
The show. Thank you.
Just sitting here, listening. A lot of great points have been put out there. I mean, I thank you for allowing me to be on your platform, man, to uh, shed a little light on sensitive matters, sensitive issues that a lot of people don't even like to touch or talk
Mm,
about, which I feel like further holds us back as a people, as people. Um, as I stated in the beginning of your show, I had the uh, I've traveled, so I've had that at my disposal at a young age, so I can relate to certain people, individuals, and I can also relate to others. I understand what Tennis Channel is talking about when it comes to Louisiana. You know,
mhm,
by me growing up as a military child, um, when I did finally, when my dad retired and we come back to the States, that's why I'm from. Even though I live here in Dallas and I've been out here for years, but my home is Louisiana. And when I did go back there, I didn't understand uh in 1993 why did the tracks still separate the black from the whites.
Oh
Uh
wow.
and and here it is 2024 and it's still like that.
Mm,
So
yeah. Mm,
uh having a open mind uh is a great thing, man. You can really learn so much from the other individual. And also to the young lady Kennedy, like from a father standpoint, my heart just hurt for her, man, because it takes a lot of courage to
Mm.
um it takes a lot of courage to write something like that and put it out in the atmosphere because
For
you're already
being
gonna
judged
be
too.
to be judged. Like
Yeah,
I
man.
really commend her, man, and to Coach Prime and the rest of the CU Buff players. Hey, I'm speaking directly to them now. Hey, this is a cry from one of your own people.
Mm-hmm.
For them, for you guys to wrap your arms around her and see how what y'all can do with the platforms that y'all have to bring an awareness
Mm.
to have her back. You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna be quiet, man, because this it kind of get me emotional because I'm just looking at it from a father standpoint, bro.
I mean, that's a great, great thing that you're saying because when we're like, we always like say, hey, there are white people that are not racist, but being quiet is also speaking as well. So for the white people that are, if you are in a dominant position where you are in a position of power and you stay quiet or you see stuff happening and you don't say or do anything, then you in some way are a part of the problem because you can use your dominant power to affect change. So in essence, the students, the ones that are being celebrated, the black ones that are on that school at that school that are being celebrated, they can look at conversations like these. They can partake in partake in conversations like the one that Kennedy tried to raise up and say, "Hey, we may go to give food to the homeless. We may do other things as athletes, but is there something where we can do to help the community, the little black community that's here that nobody's paying any attention to? What can we do to help them out as well?" And because if they ever touch that, I know that it is divisive. I know that it's something where, like Mike said, no, nobody care because everybody's screaming and cheering at the football at the stadium, and nobody wants to talk about these things. But at the end of the game, guys, we all go into our little corners and we go back to all of our issues, and we only come out and cheer together again when it's time for the game. But what happens if we all helped each other for our community? What happens if you guys started to care for those 800 students and say, all right, let's do something for these 800 black kids that are here. Let's help them out. Let's say, hey, let's raise money because in her article, she says that the clubs, the Black Student Union, and those other unions that are there for black students are underfunded. And let me touch on this a little bit before we close out on this show. Y'all can speak again. I know this is our last, we were giving our last thoughts, but let me speak on this, and y'all can speak on it too. Raising money for like the Black Student Union, raising money for like the okay, we just came out of Black History Month, raising money for the black initiatives that are on the campus. What it's going to do is it's going to help the kids. Like they want to take trips to like, okay, what is in Boulder that speaks on African American. If they want to take trips to those places, it's going to cost money. It's going to take some type of funding. So if the African American initiatives that are on that campus are underfunded, or they don't have enough funding for them to be able to do anything to do anything outside of the university, those are initiatives that could be helped by somebody who has a voice. Because now we got NIL money that's in college, and all you have to do, if you got this big platform like the well-off medias and the all of the other cameras that are out there, if they were to just touch anything, they could bring awareness, and somebody can give funding to some of these initiatives that are on that campus. And that's why it's important that we speak on these things, where it's not just, oh, you're straddling racial lines and you're trying to be provocative. But what if it's just me trying to better the experience of the young people that just happen not to be white at that school? What if I just wanted to make it better for them to have a good experience while they're at CU and not happen to play football? And the initiatives that they have at that school, somebody can help fund it.
Question,
And
Aaron. Question.
yeah,
Would it be possible for them at the school to develop what they call a black student union? Would that be controversial to the school? Would they think
they
that
have that.
they have a black student union?
Yeah, they have that. It's in
So
the article.
the funds would go to the black student union there, right? And
Well, yeah, they have a black student union, and just like at UNC Greensboro, like I said, every union that you form at the university, there's funding for all of those, right? But I think it's about membership. I think your budget, if you submit a budget to the university, the money that you get, and I mean, I was never in the leadership position, so I don't really know, but I know like the idea of when you submit your application and you submit your board and you do everything that you have to do to say, okay, I'm an organization, the school is going to provide you some type of funding based on the budget that the school has. But according to her, those departments or those unions are underfunded. They're often underfunded, or they don't have enough funding to do anything or to even put on bigger programs. Because in order for you to be recognized or to be known, you got to be able to put on a program at the school and say, hey guys, let's just say we're having a car wash, or forget about a car wash. We're having this um we're having a dance, right? We're having a mixed dance. Let me just put this out there. We're having a mixed dance, and at this dance, you gotta find a black student on campus, whether you're gay, lesbian, whatever you are. You gotta find a black student and bring a black person, or you gotta bring somebody of color or somebody of different race to this dance. So in order for you to do those type of things, you need a budget. You need money because you need to rent the space. You need to maybe provide food if there's going to be a couple of hours, water, drinks, security. You got to be able to do that, to just kind of foster your society and to give voice to everything that you want to do on campus. You need money. And if you don't have the budget to do that, then you're always going to be doing these little things that nobody's going to hear about. That makes sense?
It does.
So
What's
so
the
that's
student
why I'm like,
enrollment?
I'm advocating
What's the student enrollment at CU? The total number of students?
31,000.
And what's the total number of black students?
800.
2.7%, 831.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. I pray for them children.
Well, that's why I said I don't mind taking the L. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind taking the L. He said that idea sounds terrible. Well, what other idea you got? I didn't say that was the best idea. I was just suggesting something. Well, whatever. I was giving you a scenario. I wasn't saying go have less black dudes dating black dudes. That was a weird thing. That was a weird thing to say. But anyways, whatever. I was just being inclusive. Diversity and inclusion. But anyways,
Hey, Harris.
yeah.
What you just stated, that idea of bringing different nationalities together. Coach
Mhm.
Brom has a platform. Not
Mhm.
sure if he want to touch on that.
Yeah.
If he want to stick his hand in that fire. But just say if he did, if
Mhm.
because I think he did in one of those well-off videos, visited um one of the the African culture courses that they do offer at CU.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I don't know if he was shedding a little light on, what Kennedy was touching on in her article, but to help her establish uh, a solid foundation to maybe take those kids over to out of the country, which is going to take money. But you
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of Caucasians, you have a lot of Asians, you have a lot of Hispanics that are happy and willing to go on those trips. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So her having that at her disposal, or whoever's over that department, they may want to tap Coach Prime on the back shoulder and see if he's willing to have a conversation or show up at that course that he teaches, all of them.
You know what I heard, and because I've heard, and actually I saw it on one of Coach Prime's shows. Hey, he's giving. They've got this dance group. These girls come and he gives them little stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure he supports them in some kind of way. Anything that has to do with sports and do with the university, which that club does, I think if he knew about it, he would be more than willing because he's there. He would be more than willing. Now that's just me speaking. I can't speak for Coach Prime. He will be more than willing to do something like that because he's feeling the pulse of it, and I'm
Right.
thinking that that would be something. We're strung out all over the place, man. We're all over the United States, all of us, But he's got a if
I
and
think I think at the end of the day, Coach Prime has the influence. Now, whether he wants to lend
yeah,
that influence to
yeah.
this type of situation, it'll be nice to see him do it. I'm not putting that weight on him. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to put that weight on him because it is what it is because he's supposed to be the coach. But hey, to whom much is given, much is required. So at the end of the day, hey, it's a suggestion. Like, what if you were to do something for these 800 students? Because obviously, the fact that now CU Buff is on a national platform with a black coach and all of these black faces are all over well-off media, and so more black kids might want to go to the school. So as they come on campus, they're going to start experiencing what Kennedy's experiencing. As they come, when that number jumps to another 0.3% and it goes to 3%, a total of 3% as opposed to 2.7, they're going to come on campus and they're going to feel the heat, that weight that Kennedy's explaining. Like, oh, dang. It's not like the well-loved videos. This is weird out here. So as they come, they want to come to something where the Black Student Union has the budget to maybe go rock climbing, invite white kids to experience, like I said, do a dance, maybe not the LGBT dance, that was weird, but maybe have a dance, intercultural dance or intercultural lunch or intercultural breakfast. Something where you bring people together to say, hey, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about issues that we have and just hear us out. But it's going to take somebody to shine some light and say, hey, man, these kids are here. And since we're here as Black students, student athletes, let's go visit some of these kids. Let's go visit some of their meetings. Let's go to some of their meetings and bring the well-loved cameras and see how we can shine a light on them. And that way they can maybe get some funding for some things. Because I think
Hey,
the
Harry.
second that you shine some light, it's going to bring funding. And that's my purpose. It's like, get funding for them to be able to do the things that they really want to do. Because I remember being at UNC Greensboro and we wanted to take some trips that we couldn't because we didn't have the money. So I know how it
Hey,
feels.
hey, Harry. TLP, baby. Welcome to the lighthouse. You just
What?
spoke it into existence. Welcome to the lighthouse, shining some light on the situation. TLP, baby, welcome to the lighthouse.
Well, anyway, so at the end of
You
the day,
laughing?
man.
Why you laughing, man? Because you see
Well,
it
I
too,
mean,
huh? Why you laughing?
Because that has double meaning. We're talking about an all-white school, and you talk about working through a
I know.
lighthouse. You know,
Yeah,
State
okay.
of Colorado, just to throw this out there, the state of Colorado has almost 3 million white people and 200,000 African Americans. Just to throw that out there.
Oh, have mercy.
That's
so yeah, I mean, so there's an
once again,
experience
I
there.
still
So,
say welcome to the lighthouse.
but anyway, that's not the lighthouse. I don't know. Anyways, so I mean, but my focus and my ideas is to get funding to those young ladies, and to get funding to those young ladies and men that are on that campus, because if you didn't go to college, or if you didn't go to a PWI, there's one thing where you're really there trying to have a really good experience. You don't care whether it's black or white. You just want to be you, but you can't. You're stifled because of funding, and you can only but take so much out of your own pocket. You see what I'm saying? If your parents have money and you're always constantly are the one that's putting up the money, it can dry up your funds. But if you have the university supporting you, and then the fact that you have such a bombastic coach, the fact that you have such a big personality at the helm, and he's black, man, tap on his shoulder, be like, yo, Prime, yo, help us out, man. We got this Black Student Union. We got this event going on. It's a multicultural breakfast. We want people to come. Can you bring the cameras? And let's put some light on this multicultural breakfast, or this multicultural outing, or lunch, or something where blacks and whites can get together and just have a conversation and talk about some of the issues that they're facing on campus. Hey, it is something to think about, but it is what it is. This is not popular. I get it, but it is what I do. I take the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, and I try my best to be part of the solution. So, gentlemen, thank you for being part of this solution today. All right, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on this panel and helping me to have this conversation. I appreciate y'all. And y'all have a see you, Buff Dynasty. Have a great weekend. Tennis Willie, have a great weekend. Mr. Stretch, Mr. Controversy. All right, and Tim, y'all have a great weekend, man. I always appreciate y'all. Take care.
Likewise, y'all have a blessed
Likewise,
day.
man. Good job, Harry.
All right, peace.